And we are back. Appreciate y'all for tapping in on this lovely edition of the Doing All Right podcast, brought to you by our good friends at Tailgate USA. Thank y'all so much for holding us down there. The Cowboys suffered defeat. Terrible win, Bryan Broaddus. 44-24 to the Denver football Broncos. Bryan, I think your offense is pretty good.
Yeah.
Cowboys offense.
Sure.
I don't think I'm doing too much by saying I think the Cowboys offense is elite. I don't think I'm going too far by saying that. Some people may disagree, but that's all right. But one thing I never thought this offense was going to do when we was breaking this thing down all week, I never thought that this offense was going to stroll into Denver
Right.
and drop 40 points on them people.
Yeah.
That was never going to happen.
Sure.
The best shot that you had was your defense pulling out some Herculean effort to possibly hold the Broncos to a lower score. And I feel like if the Cowboys defense would have done that, the game flow would have gone differently.
Right.
It was going to be tough for the Cowboys offense. This is an elite of an elite defense. So I feel like with the Cowboys defense, the best way that they could have contributed to this thing is buying the Cowboys offense a little bit of time.
Right.
Just buy them dudes a little bit of time. I don't think running the football was a bad idea, Bryan.
Right.
Because you had some success running the football. But because of game flow, you got to get away from it.
Right.
Or you can't really run it when you want. The Broncos secondary did a pretty good job of covering things up per the Broncos pressure up front. And boy, the Broncos pressure up front was a thing. But we knew that, Bryan.
Right.
We knew that. You know, when you in these heavyweight matchups, Bryan, you know that you can't win them all. You know that you can't win them all with two pass rushes on the edge up there to get crazy like that. Those big interior dudes up in there, them linebackers that read real good, and them cornerbacks that cover real good on the outside. You're going to take some L's somewhere, Bryan. Right. But, dog, your offense really ain't got a shot when the other team punt one time in the first, 3.5 quarters of the game?
Sure.
I feel like that fourth quarter when the Broncos punted, that was the second time I seen the punter, Bryan.
Yeah.
I say, man, it ain't gonna happen like that. So by product, the offense wasn't great. You know, Dak didn't look as elite as he once did, but how could he?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's already hard enough to deal with this defense, this Broncos defense, let alone deal with them with a hand tied behind your back. Your offensive line, I think, is better when the situation is ambiguous. Like, hey, we could fire off the ball, we could pass it, but if you're in a clear passing down, man, this offensive line don't stand a chance, Bryan.
Yeah.
Tell me what you thought, Bryan. You know, I was gonna jump right into the defense, but it's pretty clear what happened. You couldn't stop with the run. You couldn't stop the run, and when you were thinking about the run, Bo Nix just threw it over the top of your head. He got four touchdowns, and two Broncos running backs went a little crazy on you, Bryan.
Yeah. Overall, I think when the head coach afterwards, Brian Schottenheimer, in the post game, his comments, he's going to talk about, hey, we have to do better as coaches. We have to do better on offense. We have to do better on defense. In this case, I think he's absolutely right. I don't think that Brian Schottenheimer had a particularly good day calling ball plays for you yesterday. I don't think that Matt Eberflus did a very good job himself and the defensive staff with what they were able to do. The players' execution was at times just troubling in the way that they did some things. There were some things, we've always talked about this on this show, is that when this defense struggles against the run, a lot of it has to do with the fits. And when the inability to fit in certain ways, whether it's you have an inside fit from a corner or safety or a linebacker and it doesn't happen, you are going to give up massive plays. And the Broncos did a really nice job of making you, they played this game almost like they were making you play sideline to sideline. They turned it into really, in their running game, more of a horizontal game than a vertical game. And I mean in the way of, you saw the toss sweeps, you saw the cracks, You saw the ability to get the ball on the edge. They really did a great job. And much like what Carolina was able to do to you, too. We talked about this leading up to the game, that probably Sean Payton would look at that Carolina film and get some ideas. And so he figured out that, okay, yay, we crack these edges, and then they don't fill well enough with the safeties. They don't fill well enough with the linebackers. The corners don't always support in the run, and we can get big bodies to the outside. That was a huge problem. In the passing game, when you did try and do some things, and going into this game, the thought was, hey, go and play some zone coverage against this particular quarterback. That seems to be something that people had kind of forced him, maybe not to what we saw last week against the Commanders, with how poorly they struggled with the coverage.
Sure.
But where this quarterback was, last week a lot more man, this week was going to be a lot more zone. What happened this week was he tore up your zone coverage. And, we talk about there was some times where there were some pressures. I think there were 4 pressures the whole game by the Cowboys defense. Yeah. And so that's a huge problem right there, Voch. As you well know, when you start to talk about how do you affect a quarterback, we knew the game of him throwing on the move was going to be a big part of what they were going to do. There were a couple times, it was a pass he had running to his left where he made a great throw back to the inside. It just, when you're clipping that thing off at about 7.5 yards per play, that play sheet opens up big for Sean Payton. And unfortunately for your defense, you just really didn't have any type of answers. We talk about bringing pressure. Teams have looked at you for the year, and when you've brought 5 or more rushers, teams are throwing at about a 73% clip on you, completion percentage. You're not going to win many defensive battles playing that way, especially in the passing game. So give credit to Sean Payton, give credit to the quarterback. We kind of felt like going into the game that Dallas had the better quarterback, and quite frankly, that's what I believe was going to be the difference of this game. You were going to find a way for your quarterback to play at a very, very high level. Their quarterback was maybe going to struggle. We saw early where he had the interception. And you kind of thinking like, okay, here we go. Here's one of these games. It's going to be that way. But he really did do a good job of settling down and then making some throws in that game.
Out of curiosity, you wouldn't happen to have the numbers of the Cowboys defense when they're not blitzing, what they're giving up, right? You said it was like 75% when they are blitzing.
Yeah.
Do you happen to have the number of when they're just rushing for?
It's the number is even higher than that.
Yeah.
So I don't off the top of my head, no. But you get into these modes where all of a sudden it's, that they just don't have. They just don't. A lot of this is you could talk about. Well, they need to blitz more. They need to do this more. They need to, Yeah. The biggest issue they have right now, in my opinion, is they just don't cover particularly well. And even when you get man situations, you saw what happened. You get down there and they're, your corners are trying to pick up guys, and they get spun around, and next thing you know, you got touchdowns throwing that way. So,
Bryan, if Flus had better players, do you think he would know how to use them?
I think so. I want to believe that if they did have better cover guys, I believe that he would figure some things out. The problem right now is the way he plays his defense, and now the pressures. Dallas is one of those teams. It's kind of a weird stat for them. They're one of those teams that does create pressure, but they don't always have success when it turns into pressures. I mean, they're one of the tops in the league. Donovan Ezra-Rocco, for a young guy, he's up there with pressure numbers and stuff like that. They just have not been able to, like I say, I think the biggest thing that hurts this defense right now is what's going on in the secondary. I think it's going on at corner, and I think it's going on at safety, Voch.
Bryan, I think, when you talk about your current coaches, you just kind of think about the previous coaches and how they, did things.
Mm-hmm.
I think about the talent that Flus has now.
Right.
Flus ain't got a lot of talent.
No.
On his defense. But I feel like the guys that he has we've seen them play better elsewhere or with other coaches, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Sam was going in a positive direction. I know Dante Fowler was nice before he was with us. You know what I mean, Brian? You know, Clowney was a 9-sack guy 2 years ago, Brian. You know what I mean? Bland and whatever and all these guys. I just feel like what we've been seeing, like Kenny Clark when he was at Green Bay, like Osa last year, I feel like what we've been seeing is maybe in how Flus is using these guys that they've somehow become worse. I forgot Fowler was on this team, Brian. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just haven't seen Fowler do anything. And that makes me feel like even if we did have better players, would Flus bring those guys up or would he bring those guys down? For example, Dan Quinn, right? Boy, go ahead and take a sip of water while I look in this.
No, I'm not. I'm good.
Cool, you locked in. Brian, you remember when we first signed J-Ron Curse and they came out and said, hey, Curse going to start. We was like, what the hell you mean Curse going to start? And Curse was straight.
Yeah.
We found a way to elevate Curse, or we found a way to elevate Anthony Barr. Malik Hooker was considered a bust because of who he once was versus who he is now. And then Quinn was like, fine, I'll take him and I'll make something of him. And I could at least look at Quinn and go, all right, per the guys that we have, I could at least see Quinn getting the best of these guys. Is it unfair to say that I don't feel that same thing about Flus in a way that even if we did have better players, I don't think that he would use them properly?
Well, you asked me the question, and I gave you an answer, and I don't think you like my answer.
I don't.
I to me though, I don't think it's all. I mean, I'm not sitting here trying to defend Matt Eberflus. I'm saying this though, when you have players that don't rush down the middle of people.
Yeah.
Is that coaching or is that the rusher?
So I think that's what I'm trying to get down.
Or is it when a linebacker's supposed to fill and he decides that instead of filling in the C gap, he fills in the A gap.
That's player for sure.
That's player.
Yeah.
I mean, how and it's hard because to me, I'm watching these guys. There's been plays where he's put guys in position. We go back to the damn Carolina game where all of a sudden they rush Wilson through the middle of or Thomas through the middle, and it's going to be a no gain, and all of a sudden he misses the tackle.
Sure.
Is that Flus or is that you're right. We don't see it nearly enough.
Sure.
I just don't think these players are very good right now. I just don't. I don't think they're playing. I don't think they've got, and it might be that you have to have a certain kind of player to play for him. Sure. But to me, I'm looking at it as the low-hanging fruit here, guys, is to always blame the coach. It's always to blame the coach. But you got to also look at the situation when you sit down and watch this team play defensively. There are things they're absolutely horrible at. And he keeps trying to do it. He keeps trying. And there'll be some times when they put him in position and it does work. But to me, to sit here and say that he doesn't do that enough, I think is wrong. I think it's absolutely wrong. I think coaching does matter. I think it's mattered on the offense, in the way that they've kind of been able to do some things with those guys. But to sit here and completely put all this on Matt Eberflus, they have not drafted well enough. They have not drafted well enough over the years. The depth pieces they have, they like to brag about the depth pieces and the guys they have. They've misevaluated the edges here. When they got rid of Micah Parsons, they thought they had the right edge pieces. Oso Digizua is getting double teamed a lot here. Is he playing as well as Solomon Thomas? No, absolutely not. Are any of his linebackers playing well? Absolutely not. The guy that helps you in the run defense actually is Jack Sanborn. If you look at he's the only player on your team right now on the defense that when he's on the field, the offense averages less than 4 yards a carry. Everybody else is over 5.5, and that includes Kenny Clark.
So what I'm asking though, sure, the players aren't playing well enough. Why is that? What's the answer to the contrast? There clearly they don't have good enough players on this defense. Oh.
It's clear to me. I mean, listen, coaching does matter. I'd say it again. We've seen it on the offense.
Sure.
But to sit here and low-hang fruit this thing and say it's all Matt Eberflus is incorrect. mean, if you're watching guys play and you're watching guys have to try and cover and you're watching guys try and fill gaps and you're watching guys get washed out of plays, is that the coach or is that just you playing to the best of your ability? Is that you taking on blocks, getting off blocks? Is that you hustling over and making the play? They don't have those guys on defense right now. They just don't. And that's the biggest problem right now is when he is asking them to do something, and I don't know how more simplistic he can play this defense for these guys. Mm-hmm. They continually get beat when they should be making more plays.
Both are bad, but why is it gross is what I'm trying to – because it's disgusting looking. I'm trying to see why is it disgusting looking. You know what I mean? And maybe I need to – dive deeper into the film. You know what I'm saying? Like we watch film every single week.
Right.
But we kind of watch it and move on because there's something else to do. Maybe I just need to just hyper focus on, just one game. Maybe in a bye week or something I'll do it, Brian. But it's something to why Dante Fowler was good last year, why Kenny Clark was good last year, Osa was good last year, and all of a sudden they not now. I understand if you got
if a good player
if a
good player is a good player,
sure,
he'll make plays.
Sure.
If you talk about Fowler's been put in position. Mm-hmm. You've come on this program before and talked about how many damn times he runs down the middle of people.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
You talk about that all the time.
So is it something White Cotton's teaching them or something like that? That's what I'm trying to get to the bottom of.
See, to me though, and I'm not saying the scheme is not a problem. I agree with you on that. I just don't think it's the over. I don't
even hate the scheme because Fluce's scheme looked like 17 other coaches' scheme. It may be play calling. It may be what you're asking them to do. Like, why is Kenny Murray still?
Why does Houston look better rushing the passer than Fowler?
Because they got James Houston.
Yeah.
Why does he look better rushing than James Fowler?
Yeah.
James Houston uses more pass rush moves than Fowler.
Yeah.
More than likely. Fowler still run down the middle of people. Houston has set up.
See, that's what I'm saying though, and it sounds like I'm sitting here and I'm defending Matt Eberflus.
We just talking.
I'm just saying to me though, mm-hmm. when you watch, there are times when you say, oh well, this guy was better. Why is this guy not doing? Why is this? That's the question you need to ask yourself is, why do I see this guy playing well for the Commanders and doing things and then all of a sudden he's just going back to like we were talking about rushing down the middle or not playing with his hands or not filling in the right gaps. Teams have figured out that Dallas is going to have issues when it comes to playing run defense. They've also figured out you can't play pass defense because when you play zone, the linebackers drops sometimes too far. They don't react quick enough. You look at Shamar James being on the field. 6 yards a run when he's on the field. That shouldn't be the case. This guy's a run hit kind of a linebacker. Why is that? Is he not doing what he's supposed to do? See, that's the problems that I have. Yes, Matt Eberflus has not been good, but you know what? The 15 to 16 or 20 guys he uses on a weekly basis has not been very good either. There is not one person that you could absolutely say with certainty is playing at a high level on your defense.
If your last name is Jones and we get to the end of this offseason and the mindset is, all right, guys, we're going to re-sign Pickens for the offense, but all the rest of the money is going to be to veterans on defense, and we got all these picks, and we're going to draft players on defense. Is Flus going to be the coach that you give those players to, or is he going to be a whole nother coach?
This is the problem now you run into. Okay, let's go on now to our fourth defensive coordinator.
Sure.
Let's go ahead and I said this last night on our postgame show. And this is something with fans are always saying, well, no, keep the picks, keep these picks, draft defensive players. Hey, I'm with you. I'm all about the draft. I know Voch is all about the draft. Love to have picks. Love to do all this stuff. But if you're telling me, though, that we're going to go on our fourth defensive coordinator and all of a sudden now we're going to let these defensive coaches have a say, much like that Rod Marinelli had a say and Dan Quinn had a say and Mike Zimmer had a say and Matt Eberflus had a say, and we continue to draft defensive players that aren't playing at a very, very high level that end up being busts, No, I don't want to be a part of this. But I also know that the really good teams have continuity.
Yeah.
I know the really good teams have continuity.
Can I be devil's advocate for you?
Sure.
So what if I say, well, Brian, when you have change at coach, you could at least see small bits of improvement that makes you comfortable with moving on with that guy. For example, the Cowboys have changed coordinators on offense often, right? Like, okay, like Kellen Moore calling plays ain't like Mike McCarthy calling plays, ain't like Schottenheimer calling plays. But year one, you can see the positive steps and go, all right, we may not be winning games, but I feel comfortable moving in the next direction with Schottenheimer and Clayton Adams and what they're doing. I don't have that same confidence in my defense. Is that fair?
No, it's fair. But I mean, like I say, how many years are you going to just keep doing this?
That's real. That's real.
How many years are you going to keep trying to chase that coordinator? You know, and you want to know, and here's my tailgate tip of the day. Until you figure out which coaches can evaluate and which ones can't, and you in that room give Will McClay the autonomy to do what he wants to do when it comes to picking players, you're going to continually have rosters like this. You're going to continually have, well, hey, wait a minute, our offensive coaches have kind of figured some things out. Our defensive coaches haven't done a damn thing to help this roster. You look at this roster right now, you look at the backup guys that are having to play. It's not good enough. You're getting beat every single week because your roster's not good enough. Does the head coach or does the defense coordinator have something to do with that? Absolutely he does. Does he have something to do with it from a scheme perspective? He absolutely does. But does he more importantly have something to do with it from a scouting perspective? As long as the Joneses continue to listen to their coaches, and that's the one thing that's the big push is like, oh, we want this guy and we want this guy because it's coach-driven personnel department, you're going to continue to have defenses that look the way they are right now. Because, and the thing that worries me the most is you keep turning this thing over, and like I said, I'm to the point now where I am totally interested in Will McClay being the guy. And people say, well, damn, Brian, Will McClay's got a hand in this too. Absolutely. You know why? Because he has to worry about the damn coaches. He has to worry about the Joneses. And he also has to worry about his own scouts. That's why it is this way.
Do you know if Flus had any input on the draft picks this year?
Sure he did. Yeah. Absolutely did. If you work for the Dallas Cowboys and you're a coach, and this is the problem I had with Mike Zimmer. I went in there one time and told Zimmer, I go, quit effing with the scouts. Yeah. You're effing with the scouts. You come in here and you start to tell, like, hey, I really like this guy. I like this guy a lot. The next day you come back and you're like, well, I'm not so sure. Not so sure here. You can't have that. Dan Quinn had his problems. Rod Marinelli had his problems. Mike Zimmer had his problems. Matt Eberflus has got his problems. That's the problem.
Yeah. Brian, this is pretty upsetting, I must say. The Cowboys, when they lose like this, it just upsets the hell out of everybody. The only thing that can make me feel better is our good friends at Tailgate USA. Brian, why don't you go ahead and tell us about that?
Thanks, Voch. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Tailgate USA. Tailgate like a pro. They've got turnkey trailers, mobile bars, catering pop-ups. They handle the setup, the cleanup, so you just show up. Perfect for game day in your town, birthdays, corporate events, watch parties, and more. And this December, we're running a fan giveaway. You're going to get the opportunity to spend some time at a tailgate with me in this December against the Los Angeles Chargers. So make sure you scan this QR code, book now at tailgateusa.net, and make sure you tell them that Brian sent you for those VIP prices.
Appreciate you, boss. Let me just run something by you, Broaddus. Let me just ask you a question, sir. You ready for me, Brian?
Sure.
Let me just ask you something. Would you say the game started to go downhill? You get on the 1 yard line, you get the Tyler Guyton false start.
Yeah.
You settle, you don't end up getting a touchdown there. Then right after that, it looks like you're about to get a stop, but you get the James Houston offsides on third down.
Yeah.
And it kind of went downhill from there, Brian.
It did.
You know what I'm saying?
It did.
Brian, this team, I think it's one of the more penalized teams in the league, but it don't feel that way. It doesn't feel that way, Brian. But
it has the most devastating penalties you can imagine,
like PIs and stuff.
Yeah, it happens at the worst time. I can't tell you how many times, and when it rarely happens that they do get a stop.
Yeah,
I'm immediately looking at the bar and thinking, okay, when's the flag thing coming on?
Flag coming. Yeah.
When's the defensive holding? When's the hands to the face? When's the...
I'm like that with Sam Williams.
Yeah. When's the unnecessary roughness? When's the roughing the quarterback? Yeah. When is that penalty coming? Because it happens way too often on this team.
It always happens.
Yeah.
You know, the Marquise Bell holding crossing the field there. I feel like you could have got the field there. I'm always feeling like Sam's doing something. I just always feel like it's his fault. Like if it's a clutch down, I'm looking for him to jump offside.
Sure.
A lot of this was penalties in operation, Brian. That's one thing that they can clean up. Is this something that happens more in these road games, or you just feel like they just penalize because they're not good enough? Because sometimes you can get penalized because you ain't good. Like if you're an offensive lineman and you ain't good, you tend to get holding calls a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
Would you say that defensive penalties come from them not being good? Like Marquise Bell was holding because he wasn't fast enough to get across in coverage.
Yeah.
Or our corners are PIing because they're not good enough to keep up with these guys. Clark gets the PI downfield because his situational awareness ain't all that good for a young guy, Brian. You would say that, right?
Yeah, no, the thing about it is I study these officials. I mean, I make it a point. You know, when you go in, I knew going into this game yesterday that there was going to be a chance for a offensive pass interference call. I knew there was going to be a possibility because that's what Carl Sheffers and his crew. They've officiated 6 games. They're one of the top 5 penalty callers in the league, and of 6 games, they've had 3 offensive pass interference penalties. You benefited from that, but I knew going into this game you were going to have something like this happen. You know, now was it going to be your guy or their guy? That's just the way it rolls. But this team is not good enough when it comes to their ability to even overcome penalties. Yeah. When they get in a situation on offense and they have a holding penalty or something, they're just, you know, you think, okay, well, hey, they'll just, you know, they'll find a way to make it up. Why do I every time I feel like that the opponents, when they get a penalty and it takes them back and it's 3rd and 15, that they find a way to get 18 yards? Yeah, just that it's just the way that you play, and you're not good enough to commit penalties and get away with it.
The one thing I can kind of gripe about Schottenheimer, it's kind of 2 things I kind of want to gripe about him. I feel like when we get in those goal line situations, I want him to just be comfortable handing the football off to Williams.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of times where he'll want to throw the ball a little bit. He'll want to do a little dibble-dabble, throw a goofy little, you know.
He gets cute.
Throw something behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
Quarterback sneak. I think if he just hands the ball to Javonte 4 times, I think more than likely you'll get a positive result. Shotty will burn those timeouts to where you don't have them later. And I think the biggest thing that kind of happened with Shotty, Brian, you could talk about this. I know you mad about this because nobody feels sorry for you. But when Surtain goes out, you ain't really go after it like you should have.
Yeah.
This defense doesn't have a bunch of scrubs on it. I think Riley Moss was like one guy you could find, but as soon as Chris Abrams Drain went out there, we know him from draft
8 for 8.
There was 8 versus him.
8 for 8 against that guy.
We should have been 25 for 25.
Why are they throwing the ball on your guy?
Yeah.
Why are they throwing the ball on Wheezy there? Bridges. Why are they throwing the ball on Bridges? Yeah. 12 times they throw the ball at him. 12 times. You don't think that there should have been somebody in the press box, clicks down there and tells Shotty, hey, by the way, their best defensive player is off the field now. They play 3/4 of the game without him. Mm-hmm. 3/4 of that game they play without that guy.
That's right. Go at him immediately.
Yeah. Find who is taking his place. Every play should be designed as a throw or a run or something that direction. But you're gonna keep throwing it Riley. You know, you keep throwing it Riley Moss. Keep throwing at him, you know. I mean, he had his troubles. But the guy, you're 8 for 8. Abrams drain. Their guy. Their backup guy comes in, and you just stop throwing at him.
Sure.
You know, it's that's okay. It goes back to it kind of goes back to all this thing you say. You could just put somebody out there, and that player will be.
They're not gonna happen.
They'll play. Yeah, they'll play.
We're gonna break down Arizona a little bit, tomorrow, but mostly Wednesday and Thursday.
Right.
We're gonna talk about that because that's the next game. You're in a must-win situation again.
Yeah.
Funny enough, you're not far out of the playoff picture. You like a game and a half behind.
2 teams you lost to, what? Carolina and the Bears.
You're 1 game behind Carolina. You're a half a game
behind Carolina
because of the tie. You're a game and a half behind Chicago, and you're also
2 games behind San Francisco.
2.5 behind San Fran. Yeah. So you ain't all the way out of it. Right. You know what I'm saying? But boy, something gonna happen, and I think it's honestly just irresponsible to just put all this on the shoulders of Voch. Him coming back thinking that he's gonna save the day, so to speak, for this defense. Or even that Revel's gonna come back and magically turn this thing into something different. We'll have to see Bryan Broaddus, but until somebody show me different, I think every quarterback's gonna throw for 300 yards and 3.5 touchdowns. I think every running back's gonna be able to run against you, even when your cornerback situation get healthy. I honestly, Brian, I don't think Diggs coming back. I don't think Diggs coming back. I know that Jerry was kind of and Shotty for that matter. I think they were kind of selling this thing as, oh man, when our help at corner comes, when Diggs come back, man, I think they're only waiting on Revel and my man's at the other corner. I ain't seen him all year. That guy, forgot his name. What's his name?
A guy from Wake Forest.
No.
Carson?
Not Butler.
Butler.
We forgetting about Butler, Brian.
Yeah.
I think those are the corners coming back, but that's not inspiring a whole bunch of faith to me, Brian. I think you're just gonna have to keep playing offense. Luckily, you ain't gonna see this Broncos defense again unless you go to Super Bowl. Unless they go to Super Bowl, you know what I'm saying? But besides that, it's only gonna get tough from here, Brian.
Yeah, you mentioned the whole thing with Diggs. Let me walk you through something then, because we've had this discussion.
Yes, sir.
Are you to the point now where you don't want to make a move for somebody? Because this is the and listen, I appreciate everybody out there, the guys and gals that follow us and take in all our content and stuff. But I've been talking with you the last 2 weeks. I know my man Voch has been talking with you the last 2 weeks about, hey, do you go and make a trade? And now a lot of you I've seen is nah, don't do it. Don't use those picks. Stay status quo. Don't do anything. This defense sucks. Don't try and help it. I want to hear your opinion, and then I've got an opinion what I want to say afterwards, if I could.
So
on why or why not.
So it depends on the player. I'm still in and out. If you'd have called me a couple weeks ago, Brian, I'd have said spend one of them big picks on a big player.
Yeah.
But also spend them 5s on like an older, good veteran, like a Bradley Chubb cat. Bradley Chubb type characters would be a 1-year rental for me.
Okay.
So I'm no longer in the 1-year rental game.
Phillips is the rental. Chubb is the guy with contract.
Jalen Phillips?
Phillips is the rental.
I think Phillips is a longer term option for me because he's younger.
Yeah, I like Phillips too.
Because he's young.
But Chubb has got the contract.
Chubb got the contract, but he's an older player. That I don't want no old dudes around here.
Right.
I think if you're going to make a trade, man, at least have somebody that's going to be a part of the equation next year. Like Kenny Clark is going to be a part of your equation somehow next year.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
So, man, I'm not giving up a third or a swing. I don't know. I ain't giving up a pick for a 1-year guy.
Right.
If it could be a young dude that's super impactful, that's going to help me next year and year after, then I'm with that.
Okay.
So that means I'm leaning more towards like Max. I'm still good on. I'm still sure. Let's go get Max if he's even available.
Yeah.
Hendrickson's a little old. He like what, 30, 31?
Hurt his back again yesterday.
And his back hurt. So I'm a little I'm a little more skeptical about the 31-year-old dude.
And having
his hip too.
Yeah.
I'm a little more skeptical about the 31-year-old dude. But the young impact players, Quentin Williams, Derrick Brown, we could talk about it if they're going to be a part of the equation.
Yeah. Okay, this is where I'm at. And let me ask you this question too.
And also, too, one more thing. Let me just answer this one more thing. If I could keep my Cowboys first-round pick at all possible, because I feel like we're going to be trash, I want to keep I want to keep the pick as early as I can possibly.
Okay.
Trade Green Bay pick.
Okay. Can I interest you if it's still 2 first-round picks? And it turns into, because the only one I think I would give the 2 first-round picks for is Max Crosby.
Yeah.
That's the only one I think I would do it for. Can I interest you in doing it this way? Maybe it's not about the next 10 games, but maybe it's about 2026 and 2027 and 2028.
Sure, because Max is like 29 or 28, 29 or something like that.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You're willing to go, yeah, it would be great, in my opinion, but don't think about it as the next 10 games because he could help. There's no question in my mind that Max Crosby could help if, in fact, you could pry him away from the Raiders. We'll see.
Yeah.
But don't look at it as just 10 games. Look at it as 10 games plus what you're going to get from him in the future.
Max is different. Plus, if you word it as you traded Micah Parsons for Max Crosby, Kenny Clark, some cap money, and a first-round pick in 2027 or something, that sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, sign me up, I'll do it. If it's Max. If it's
that's the only one that I'm thinking about that I'm going to have to.
I heard somebody say, I saw on Twitter that like Quentin Williams for a 2. I don't think that's accurate. Quentin Williams is another one of those top tier guys. Yeah. He'll probably go for like a 1 or something like that.
There's people in the league though, like my gang of 7, that's saying that the 2 might get him though.
They said what?
Yeah, exactly. There's people in the league that believe that Quentin Williams could be had for a 2 in the Jets.
Brian, I send 2 1s for Crosby and I send a 2 for Williams. That's who I am. That's who I am.
So
I let go of Pickens to get Crosby and Williams.
That's interesting.
I would move on from Pickens to keep that money to be able to afford Crosby and Williams. I feel like Dak is able to deal with nonsense now.
So if you were able to move on, this is an interesting way of thinking things. And folks, hey, we're talking here.
Draft a receiver.
We're talking right here. But if you had a way where you could move on the 2 1s, Green Bay's ones preferably, for Max Crosby, and then give this year's 2 for Quentin Williams.
Green Bay's ones this year and next year, take them. I'll take Crosby, and I know he gonna cost a little money. And this year's 2, I know Williams gonna cost a little money. But at least now, because ain't no more draft dice rolling now.
Yeah,
I got a dude in the middle and I got a dude on the edge.
Yeah.
Ain't no dice rolling and ain't no wait until they're in their prime or wait until they in their man body. I've accelerated this thing because Dak's an old man too.
Sure.
And man, if I had to pick between those 2 guys on defense and GP, I'm sending GP. I'll take that 3rd compensatory pick because I need them anyway because I just sent some picks away. And I'm taking both those 2 defenders, Brian.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to go draft.
That's an interesting way of thinking about things. If you were, in fact, able to pry Max Crosby away from the Raiders, and now could you take that 2nd round? And maybe to the Jets, that would be interesting.
I don't need to draft. I don't want to draft if I can have both those guys. Because you'll be lucky. Think about because Brian,
I always say this, you won't be able to find players better than those 2 players, right?
Think about our luck, Brian. The last few drafts, we only walk away with 2 good players anyway.
Yeah.
Like in this year's, we got some hurt guys and they're young. But previous drafts, you go, okay, well, there's 1 guy we still got from that draft. Oh, that's 2 starters that we have from that draft.
Right.
You mean to tell me I can walk out of the 2026 draft with 2 Pro Bowl All-Pro guys?
Well, yeah.
I don't need no.
But think about that.
I don't want no damn pick.
Think about that. You would, if you could find a way to keep your own pick, and then you ship the Green Bay picks.
Perfect. Take them.
Yeah.
Take 'em.
You got your pick.
Take 'em.
You got Max Crosby, and you've got the Quinnen Williams.
And just because I'm not a dipshit,
Yeah,
I'll give you the Dallas picks if I can keep the damn Packers picks.
yeah.
Take my Dallas picks. I got Max Crosby. Take my 2. I got Quinnen Williams. I'll take the 28th overall pick and draft a dude that can play. That's cool.
Yeah.
On defense, by the way, because I need him.
Right.
Carson Schlesinger went early second this year.
Yeah.
Man, I'll take a guy like that. Or my man's the Eagles drafted, the linebacker from Jahad Campbell.
Yeah.
Take Jahad Campbell, put him behind Max Crosby and Quinnen Williams with your early Green Bay pick.
Yeah.
Let's go play.
Yeah. I agree with you on that. It's an interesting way of thinking about it, though, because to me, if you in fact could pry both those players away for their for just the ones and then the twos, we'll see. That's to me that's chess.
Yeah.
That's chess thinking,
chess
right?
move right there.
That's chess moves right there for sure.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we're not going to quite get into players, but you will see some more miscellaneous draft
Can't believe
talk,
you hate
boy.
that defensive coordinator the way you do.
Who, Flus?
You do. You just hate that guy.
Well, I don't hate Flus. I just want to be as excited about Flus as I am about Clayton Adams. That's all.
No, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. You made good points.
So one more thing about that, because I think there is a ton of great discussion around this.
Yeah.
Even if you take Dak away from the equation,
Yeah.
what has Clayton Adams done for you only from a run game perspective? You could see his value with Javonte Williams, who's not an all-pro type of guy.
Right.
Javonte Williams. And think about that damn Jets game when your whole offensive line was gone.
Yeah.
And the only starter left.
That's where coaching. That's coaching.
Because sometimes you can be like, well, Voch, the passing game, anybody can be a passing game coordinator if Dak going crazy like this.
Yeah.
Let's take Dak, CD, and GP away from it.
Yeah.
Only the run game with the offensive line that we talking about right now, you could see the impact immediately Clayton Adams has. I just want a coach on defense that can give me an immediate impact.
That's fair. Very fair.
Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate y'all. Me and Bryan finna go to another platform and cuss, and then we'll go to another one and cuss some more. And maybe we'll feel a little better when we start breaking down the Cardinals, and we'll come back and do it all over again. Appreciate everybody for tapping in with us. Follow us on all of our socials. Be sure to go to crownglobalmedia.com for any link that you're looking for, whether it be the audio version of this, whether you're looking for some merch. Please go to crownglobalmedia.com, or the link is in our description. Click it, and it'll take you where you want to go. All right, that's Bryan Broaddus on VOCHLONBARDI. And we'll catch y'all tomorrow for some film. Crown.